Another scandal broke. This time, the impact is huge. Even the authorities and the immigration office have been alerted. It's outrageous, and it's all because of those agencies. They're the ones fabricating diplomas for you. If you search for these agencies on Xiaohongshu, you'll still find recommendations, and they're even still enrolling students. Everyone, keep your eyes open.
A
group of Chinese international students, set to graduate soon, didn't receive their diplomas. Instead, they were handed an exit order. The reason is simple. The materials they submitted upon entering the country were forged. The news about Chinese international students involved in a scandal in South Korea has spread widely on Chinese social media platforms. According to Chonsun Daily, on April 3rd, the South Korean Ministry of Justice's Immigration Office carried out searches and seizures. These took place at the main campus of Honam University in Gwangju and its International Exchange Office. The investigation showed that 112 Chinese international students at this 4-year university had submitted forged diplomas. They had enrolled as transfer students. The university has now ordered them to take a leave of absence. Most of these students are expected to return to China. If they try to enter South Korea in the future, they will face forced deportation. The Immigration Office confirmed that the U.S. university from which these students claim to have obtained their degrees had its accreditation revoked more than 20 years ago. In fact, it was a non-existent ghost university. South Korea is currently investigating this fraud case. The 100-plus Chinese international students, most of whom only have a high school diploma, first entered South Korea in March last year. They came on a short-term language study visa, which has low entry requirements. They enrolled at the Honam University affiliated language school to study Korean. In August of the same year, they submitted U.S. bachelor's degrees and apostille international notarized documents to the Immigration Office. This allowed them to change their status to a long-term student visa. They then transferred into the university's master's program. They aim to use the university's expedited program for international students to obtain their master's degree by July this year. Honam University stated they had no knowledge of these students submitting fake diplomas. The university also confirmed that it had informed the students in China about the leave of absence measures taken for all of them. It added that anyone attempting to enter the country would face forced deportation. So how was this case of falsification by Chinese students uncovered? According to media reports, the South Korean Ministry of Justice noticed during their visa review that over 100 students had all claimed to have graduated from the same U.S. university around the same time. This seemed unusual and prompted an investigation. Authorities eventually discovered that these students had no U.S. immigration records for the period they claimed to have studied in the U.S. Furthermore, the American university they say they attended had been shut down in the mid-2000s. The apostille numbers they submitted were also found to be untraceable in the system. This led authorities to conclude that the documents were entirely forged. During the winter break, the Ministry of Justice's Busan Immigration Office conducted a surprise raid on Honam University's main campus and International Exchange Office. As soon as the news broke, more than 100 students involved in the case immediately returned to China. The Ministry of Justice has now canceled all their visas and banned them from entering South Korea indefinitely. Authorities also found 5 more Chinese students still in South Korea who were involved. They had been forcibly deported, with one currently deciding whether to appeal. The Ministry of Justice criticized the situation. It said that with a rapid increase in international students, universities, as the main enrollment institutions, must take responsibility for checking documents. The university argued that it was also a victim and could not check every diploma and document on its own. Public records show that the involved Honam University in South Korea is a private institution. It has actively worked in Chinese markets for many years. The university set up the first Confucius Institute in South Korea. According to the university's website, its Confucius Institute was established on December 19, 2006. It received approval and funding from the Chinese Ministry of Education's Hanban. The institute is jointly run by Honam University in Korea and Hunan University in China. It is the first Confucius Institute led by a South Korean university. In 2015, the university also created the China Friendship Center. Starting in 2016, it opened offices in several provinces and cities in China to recruit students. Honam University in South Korea has drawn attention before. In a 2022 incident, its pro-China position was widely questioned. On October 16, 2022, the university's international exchange released a public statement. It said that on October 1st, a male international student showed the flag of the Republic of China, also known as Taiwan, on his phone. He played the song Ode to the Republic of China and made anti-communist comments in a WeChat group. Later that evening, he used a CCP flag to wipe his shoes. He said that he was too lazy to use paper because paper was for wiping the body, and the CCP flag was only fit for wiping shoes. The statement also mentioned that the student's actions caused strong discomfort and anger among his roommates. This led to a verbal altercation. As a result, the university decided to expel him. The statement was written in simplified Chinese. It used terms like anti-China comments, disrupting the order of international students' lives, and causing serious negative impact. These phrases closely mirrored official CCP announcements. The statement also included pro-China political remarks. These included the 30th anniversary of the friendly diplomatic relations between China and South Korea supports the one-child policy. The remarks sparked criticism from South Korean public opinion. Many South Korean media outlets followed up with reports. Netizens expressed their disbelief with comments like, "Is this really an official statement from a South Korean university?" Some speculated that the expelled student might have been Taiwanese, but News One confirmed with Honam University that the student was a Chinese international student who had just enrolled in September. In response to criticism of the political remarks in the statement, the university explained to the media that the announcement was written by a Chinese professor for Chinese international students. It did not represent the official stance of the university. Despite phrases like "hope all students take this as a lesson," the university clarified that the announcement was not distributed to all students. It was an administrative document given only to the student involved. Although the statement contained political comments like support for One China, the university emphasized that it hoped students would focus on their studies, not political topics. Data shows that Chinese international students make up nearly 80% of the student body at Honam University. According to reviews on the Chinese social media platform Zihe, Honam University is considered an average institution in South Korea. Most students come from China and Vietnam. Many Chinese students are enrolled through a pathway program. They start with a diploma and complete 2 years at Honam University to obtain a bachelor's degree. Analyst Zhen Yu believes that the recent scandal involving widespread diploma fraud among Chinese international students at Honam University sent several warning signals. First, the university has close ties to the CCP. It has long focused on the Chinese market and established a Confucius Institute. There are widespread concerns that Confucius Institutes are not merely cultural exchange platforms. They are also seen as tools for the CCP to exert influence and conduct United Front work abroad. In this context, the university's large population of Chinese students raises suspicions. People wonder whether the institution is solely motivated by recruitment and financial interests, or whether it serves other, less transparent purposes. He further pointed out that the South Korean government's raid on the university in January was not merely an administrative issue. It likely carried a strong political message. This action shows that the South Korean government had already been aware of the university's unusual relationship with the CCP. This incident also reflects a broader issue of academic fraud among Chinese international students. They seem to lack basic respect for rules and consequences in an environment where such practices have become common. Zhen Yu noted that such large-scale, organized fraudulent behavior would be nearly impossible to carry out smoothly if the university had not facilitated or tacitly approved it. Therefore, it is likely not an isolated case involving individual students. It is probably a more systemic operation with official backing. The university's claim of ignorance about the situation is hard to believe. This highlights that South Korea's crackdown on Honam University, under the guise of combating academic fraud, goes far beyond education management. It not only addresses issues within the international student system, but also sends a warning about potential political infiltration in institutionalized fraud. Ironically, at the same time, China is carrying out an unprecedented crackdown on academic fraud. Yet the causes, targets, and final goals of the two actions are rooted in completely different logics. Recently, a number of CCP academics with military-industrial backgrounds have been expelled. This has drawn significant attention. At first, some speculated that this might be related to the underperformance of Chinese-made weapon systems following US and Israeli airstrikes on Iran that could have triggered an internal purge within Beijing. But new analyses suggest that this issue may not only be about equipment malfunctions. It could uncover another layer of corruption within the military-industrial research system, falsification of research results, embezzlement of funds, and exaggerated financial transactions behind the academic titles. The term two academies refers to the Chinese Academy of Sciences and the Chinese Academy of Engineering. Since 2024, 10 academics with military-industrial backgrounds have been expelled. Apart from missile expert Xiaolong Xu from the Rocket Force Research Institute, who was expelled in October 2024, Most of the others have been implicated in the past few months. These include a ballistic missile expert, the former director and chief engineer of China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation's 711 Institute, the chief engineer of China National Nuclear Corporation, the director of China Academy of Engineering Physics, a radar expert, a missile guidance control expert, a nuclear weapons engineer, the J-20 chief engineer, and a high-power microwave expert, among others. Such a concentrated purge goes beyond routine personnel adjustments. It seems more likely a deep investigation into the military-industrial research system. One perspective is that the most direct cause for the expulsion of these academics is corruption. This is closely linked to the recent fall of military-industrial giants. On the other hand, the frequent exposure of quality issues in military equipment, even impacting actual combat capabilities, has prompted authorities to revisit the research process and check for large-scale fraud. In other words, on the surface, this appears to be an anti-corruption campaign, but on a deeper level, it may be a probe into the so-called major national projects to determine how many of these achievements were merely superficial projects built up through hype and manipulation. This suspicion is not without foundation. More than 2 decades ago, the Hanshin incident, which shocked the nation, is the most typical example. In 2003, Chen Jin, a professor at Shanghai Jiao Tong University, boldly claimed to have developed the high-performance Hanshin No. 1 DSP chip. He then released Hanshin No. 2 through No. 5. This created an image of rapid progress in China's domestic chip industry, but the truth was eventually revealed. The so-called Hanshin chips were merely Motorola chips bought from the US, with the original markings removed and replaced with Hanshin. This crude scam managed to pass through multiple checks. It secured over 100 million yuan in research funding, with academics endorsing and supporting it. This incident illustrates that once academic fraud is tied to power, funds, and prestige, even the most poorly crafted lies can be packaged as national-level achievements. In 2011, Zhou Guotai, an academic of the Chinese Academy of Engineering and the then deputy director of the military's logistics department, boldly claimed to have invented the high-energy nickel-carbon supercapacitor. This was a supposed breakthrough in electric vehicle power sources. However, many raised doubts. They suggested that this invention was more of a money-making scheme and a way to create hype, following a pattern almost identical to the Hanshin incident. Zhao Guotai was eventually brought down in 2015. These accumulated cases led many to suspect that some of the military-industrial academics who have recently been expelled may have also risen to their positions by falsifying results, exaggerating technologies, and packaging projects. Beyond the authenticity of scientific achievements, the title of academic itself is also highly questionable. It is said that while the CCP's academic system is modeled after Western countries, its nature is different. In China, once someone attains the academic title, they typically receive fame, fortune, and favors. Because an authority in a particular field, they gain access to various benefits, including money and even personal favors. According to insiders, a major private enterprise group has a public relations team composed entirely of young, attractive women. They are often tasked with special assignments. For example, to promote a new drug, they once invited an elderly academic from the Chinese Academy of Sciences to endorse the project. The boss used his yacht to entertain the academic and then employed charm to persuade him. This led to the swift progress of the project. Before becoming an academic, the process surrounding the election slot was similarly fraught with money-driven maneuvering. Every time an academic's election takes place, the behind-the-scenes competition is intense. To enter the candidate list, one must often navigate through multiple stages, such as nominations, recommendations, and evaluations. It has been publicly revealed that over the past 2 decades, nearly every round of selection has involved candidates directly offering benefits to academics with voting power. State-run media outlets have also reported that candidates, institutions, and provincial or municipal departments often pour significant resources into supporting their election. While the exact numbers are hard to verify, it is widely believed that securing an academic title would nearly be impossible without an investment of 20 to 30 million RMB. For some top executives in state-owned enterprises or high-ranking military officials, this sum is not beyond their means. The results in terms of project funding, approval of research results, and career advancement far exceed this initial cost. As a result, those who purchase academic titles are often eager to recoup their investment. They may falsify budgets and siphon off funds in major research projects, or they use their influence to connect others and receive more benefits in return. In this way, The academic title ceases to be a symbol of academic achievement. It becomes an expensive investment with high returns. Once this culture takes hold, the entire military-industrial research system inevitably risks being hollowed out. What has raised further concern is that in March, while several academics were expelled, a number of elderly academics passed away within days. They reportedly died due to ineffective medical treatment. These included communications expert Sun Yu, electronics and communication expert Li Youping, military information technology expert Wei Zhengyao, and microelectronic scientist Wu Denxin. While their advanced age makes their passing unsurprising, the sudden cluster of deaths within a short period has led to speculation. Some suspect that, despite their age, these individuals still hold significant influence in the academic nomination and election process. If they were involved in recommending candidates for money or engaging in quid pro quo, any subsequent investigation could lead to questioning or implicating them. For elderly individuals, such unexpected pressure and stress could indeed accelerate the deterioration of their health. The expulsion of these military-industrial academics is no longer just about individual officials falling from grace. It now seems to be the result of simultaneous scandals in the military-industrial, research, and academic selection system. What it exposes is not just the corruption of certain individuals, it also reveals the deep-rooted problems of a system that has relied on packaging, falsification, rent-seeking, and exchange of interest to maintain a facade of prosperity for years. How many of these so-called cutting-edge weapons and major achievements, which have been highly publicized, can actually withstand the test of real combat? And how many are mere myths inflated by power and money? More and more people are starting to reevaluate this. On the surface, this appears to be a purge, but on a deeper level, it also proves that behind the boasts of a technological superpower and military powerhouse, there lies a mountain of hidden deals, untraceable figures, and fragile illusions. China and South Korea have almost simultaneously launched their own complex and highly sensitive academic fraud investigations. While the approaches differ, the targets are all Chinese. The blowback affects Beijing's authorities.